Okay, then, first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody for attending our press conference. We call this press conference a conference as an outcome that we've had meetings here in the last couple of days of the National Residential School Survivors Society board members and staff. With me on my right is Ray Mason, who is our chairman of the board, and our acting director, Michael Kakachi, executive director of the National Residential School Survivors Society. We also got some board members here, Alvin Dixon, who was representative from British Columbia, Bobby Joseph, also an advisor from British Columbia, along with other board members and staff. My name is Ted Cusance, and my opening statement today as spokesperson on behalf of the board members for today's press conference. Today, on behalf of the National Residential School Survivors Society, is calling for an independent judicial review of the Indian Residential Schools Settlement Agreement. The settlement agreement is an out-of-court settlement that is to be monitored by the courts, and that's the 7 jurisdictions, the 7 judges that approve this agreement. Chief Justice Winkler is responsible, yet each and every day we have survivors complaining about the treatment from and by the consortium of lawyers, the rule of Canada, the issue of lost records, information not being provided. Also, our adjudicators are not respecting the culture and languages of our survivors. Our major question here is, why is it the court is not taking responsibility in regards to these concerns and issues of survivors? On the wall behind me, you see a survivors chart that is completed in 2007. That's going 5 years. And this chart was put together prior to implementation of the settlement agreement. It's concerns and issues of survivors prior to this settlement being implemented. The chart is a description of 460 concerns and issues by survivors, and this is done 5 years ago. Also, when this chart was done, we engaged lawyers, we engaged government, we engaged the churches, and also people, parties to the settlement, were part of this input into this survivors chart in regards to concerns and issues. Over the past couple of days, we've had a meeting here in Winnipeg to review the progress on dealing with all these concerns and issues. We are finding that there are more concerns and issues, and none of the concerns and issues that we've identified 5 years ago have not been dealt with. There's more concerns and issues being added on. We as survivors, and also as a national organization, we want to take the high road here, because most of us have signed on to this agreement as survivors, and we've been compensated. But we did not sign on to have all these problems within our families and within our communities. As all of you are aware, this coming year, September 19th, 2012, is the deadline for the independent assessment process. And many people within our communities still do not know about the process of this agreement. We as a national organization, we as ordinary survivors across this country, we got serious problems with the courts. We got serious problems with lawyers that are out there. And we got problems with Canada. And essentially all have been abdicated their responsibilities We are calling on the independent judicial review, like I said earlier. We are also requesting that all the law societies in Canada meet with survivors to explain to us why they are not dealing with the problems created by our members and within the agreement with their members. And as you are aware, there's been a lot of problems with lawyers, a lot of suspensions by lawyers that are getting suspended for wrongdoings. I truly believe they have a responsibility, and that responsibility is for disciplining their members, meaning the lawyers. There's no discipline taking place, and this is not being done within the law societies, even though they're being reported. Every day, each of us around this table, we get complaints regarding lawyers cherry picking certain cases, only taking cases which are lucrative and denying the little people, taking money for services that's not being provided, and taking more money than what they are entitled to. All of you are aware, you read about it in the newspapers, and absolutely nothing is done. And you know what? I asked this question. Where is the courts? Where is the law societies? Why are survivors not protected within this agreement? The lack of engagement, the lack of inclusion of survivors. You know, the federal government goes to court, although they are in a conflict of interest position, a total conflict of interest, because of their role as the administrator in all the parts of this agreement. The court and our council have not taken action to assert their authority to properly supervise and direct the administration of the settlement agreement. This is a survivor agreement, and without participation of a survivor or survivor groups across this country, while the lawyers for the Crown, the church entities, the Assembly of First Nation, and the Inuit Council report back to their respective authorities on issues and concerns arising from this agreement. The lawyers that purport to represent us have never reported back to survivors or us, or even asked any direction on input on any matter regarding the settlement agreement. We as survivors from every region across this country, we are totally frustrated. But we all also want to continue to work hard to promote reconciliation by us as individuals, by our families, and by our communities. Even though it's really hard to reconcile when the perpetrators, meaning the churches, the perpetrators meaning the government, the representatives and the staff, are not even at our TRC events. And the question I ask is, how do we have reconciliation when the perpetrators are not in our own? And that's meaning government officials. Where's our member of parliament when these TRC events are going on? Where's our church representatives? And the intent of the TRC was to go around this country to have 7 national events and educate Canadians. And that is not happening. As a result, of this meeting, we also want to move forward in a very positive manner. We like to begin an open public dialogue with survivors across the country and families, and also communities, on the continuing acts of genocide perpetrated against our people. Genocide is an issue the Minister of Indian Affairs or Aboriginal Affairs was approached in regards to the issue of genocide. And his statement was it was just a bad education policy that went wrong. Those were his exact words. And we as survivors across this country, we will give him a definition of what genocide is. Last and final issue we want to discuss is the whole issue of the day schools, and I'll give it to Mr. Ray Mason to discuss the whole day school issue.
Okay, thank you very much. As most of us know, we do have a class action in the courts. It's a national class action, and it's called the Gary McLean class action. We filed that in July of 09. And Mr. McLean is here with me, and I just want to give some brief notes on update on the class action, and we are working towards certifying this class action, because right now, when we filed, we thought that Canada would do the right thing and come forward and talk to us, and they refused to come to the table to discuss our issues, because as we look at it, when you look at the Indian Reservation Agreement, it's only settling and half the problem. They forgot to include the day scholars, and you know, because these people have been abused in various similar manners, if not worse in some cases, and they were compelled and forced to go to these day schools. So Canada is waiting to see if we can actually pay for the cost of certifying our class action. And we feel that that's the only way they will come to the table. And Canada knows that too, because they know that it's costly, time consuming, and we feel that is a reason why we're forced to certify our class action. Right now we have many thousands of day scholars registered with us. Approximately 11,000 right now that we have on file. And these people have given their experiences, they've given us what they went through, what they experienced in the day schools. I would like to announce at this time that on May 2nd and 3rd, we will be hosting a national day school conference in Winnipeg, Manitoba, here at the Victoria Inn. And we would like to ask if anybody would like to volunteer or donate towards helping with the cost of our conference. If anyone needs to get any more information on our national conference, you may go to joeandjack.ca. That's our lawyer. With that, I would like to thank you.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and